Imagine this. You're home alone. It's late, and the silence is almost suffocating. Then, a sound. Unfamiliar. Your instincts flare. That primal fear. We all know it. The stories you're about to hear dig deep into that unease. Real encounters that linger long after the lights go out. These 5 tales come from different places, but all share a chilling thread. The unexplained. The terrifying, the unforgettable. So, settle in. Maybe grab a blanket. Tonight, we're exploring 5 horror stories said to be true. Stories that might just keep you up. Let's begin. Our first story comes from Mark. He's a practical guy, the kind of person who relies on logic and reason. Ghost stories and unexplained phenomena? Not usually his cup of tea. He's a man of science, of facts, of the tangible world. But one night, something happened that challenged everything he thought he knew. He was driving a lonely country road late at night, the kind where the darkness feels thick and heavy, when he saw her. A young girl in a vivid red dress, standing motionless by the roadside. The color seemed impossibly bright against the inky blackness of the night. It was an unsettling splash of color in an otherwise monochrome world. Mark slowed, torn between concern for the child and a growing, inexplicable sense of dread. What was a young girl doing out here, alone, so late at night? It didn't make sense. He pulled over, hazards blinking, illuminating the immediate area with an orange glow. He reached for the door, intending to offer help, but as he touched the handle, a wave of pure, unadulterated terror stopped him cold. He hesitated, peering through the windshield. He looked again, trying to rationalize what he was seeing. But there was no denying it. Her face was wrong. Her eyes were too wide, unblinking, and her smile was too fixed, too perfect, almost predatory. It was a smile that didn't reach her eyes, a smile that promised something sinister. Panic began to set in. Mark fumbled for his phone, desperate to call for help, but no signal. Just the dreaded words "no service" mocking him from the screen. The girl never moved, never spoke, never even blinked, but he felt her watching him, studying him, waiting for something. It was a palpable sense of being observed, a feeling that crawled under his skin. Every instinct screamed at him, a primal warning echoing in his mind. Don't get out. Don't even think about it. He didn't hesitate. He floored it, the tires spitting gravel as he accelerated away, not looking back until the road behind was completely empty, swallowed by the darkness. Shaken and unnerved, he drove straight to the nearest police station and reported what he saw, recounting the chilling encounter with a trembling voice. Officers, initially skeptical, agreed to investigate. They searched the area thoroughly with flashlights, but found nothing. No girl, no footprints in the soft earth, no trace of anyone ever being there. Mark was haunted for weeks afterward, unable to shake the image of that unnatural smile, those wide, unblinking eyes. Sleep offered no escape, only replays of the terrifying encounter. Driven by a need to understand, he began researching local legends and folklore. He found whispers, old tales about a girl in red, a harbinger of misfortune, a sign of impending doom. For Mark, it wasn't just a legend anymore. It was a warning, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks just beyond the edge of our perception. The lesson he learned that night was simple, yet profound. Trust your gut, listen to that inner voice, and sometimes, no matter how compelling the circumstances, don't stop for strangers in the night. The red dress, a beacon in the darkness, a splash of vibrant color against the muted tones of the night, was a sign that something was terribly, irrevocably out of place. Some encounters have the power to twist the ordinary, the mundane, into a living nightmare, forever altering your perception of reality. Mark never drove that road at night again, forever haunted by the memory of the girl in the red dress. He learned a valuable, albeit terrifying, lesson. Some figures, some mysteries, are best left alone, undisturbed in the shadows. And sometimes, the scariest thing isn't the monsters under your bed, but what waits just outside your car window. lurking in the darkness beyond the reach of your headlights. Alex, an experienced diver, thought he'd seen it all. Until Lake Anjikuni. He and his friend Sarah dove into its depths, searching for rumored caves. As they descended, the water grew colder, the silence heavier. At the trench's edge, their lights revealed deep, unnatural claw marks gouged into the rock. A chill ran through them. Something was down there. Suddenly, Alex felt something brush his leg, then grab hard. He spun, but saw only black water. Sarah was panicked too. They rushed to the surface, but not before Alex's wetsuit was torn, 3 deep scratches bleeding. Sarah's fin was marked too. Back on the boat, they realized whatever made those marks was real. Locals spoke of lake spirits, but nothing concrete. Alex's love for deep diving faded. The unknown had left its mark. The deep is one of Earth's last mysteries. What ancient things might still lurk there? Sometimes the abyss warns you to stay away. Those scratches weren't random. They were a message. Some places are better left unexplored. And in the deep, you're never truly alone. Clara's apartment was her sanctuary until midnight brought something else. It started as a feeling being watched, drawn to the door, night after night. Through the peephole, she saw nothing. At first, but soon, a shadow appeared at the end of the hallway, darker than the rest, inching closer each night. The ritual became obsessive. Midnight, peephole, shadow, always closer. The shape grew more defined, tall and featureless, until it was right outside her door. Clara's fear spiraled. She stopped sleeping, stopped feeling safe. One night she refused to look, but the urge was overwhelming. When she finally did, the shadow filled her view, just inches away. She fled to her sister's, never returning for her things. The apartment was no longer home. It was a place invaded. Shadows in familiar places unsettle us most. They turn safety into threat. Clara never learned what the shadow was, but it haunted her long after. Sometimes, the scariest monsters are the ones that wait just outside your door. Hallways are thresholds. When something crosses them, it changes everything. The slow, relentless approach is the stuff of nightmares. Clara's story is a warning. Not all shadows are harmless. And sometimes, it's better not to look. What waits outside your door at midnight? 4 friends, Liam, Chloe, Ben, and Maya, young and eager, stood at the edge of an adventure they wouldn't soon forget. They were experienced hikers, confident in their abilities, but unaware of the ancient secrets that lay hidden within the woods. Set out to hike Silent Creek Woods, a local trail known for its beauty, but also whispered about in hushed tones by the townsfolk. A forest with a reputation for the strange, a place where the veil between worlds seemed thin and reality blurred. The deeper they went, the quieter the woods became, the familiar sounds of nature fading into an unsettling stillness. The sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy, casting long, eerie shadows that danced around them, until silence gave way to whispers. At first it sounded like wind, a gentle rustling of leaves, easily dismissed as the forest breathing. But soon, the voices seemed to call their names, soft at first, then growing clearer, luring them off the path with promises and half-remembered dreams. Panic set in as the trail vanished, the familiar markers disappearing as if swallowed by the woods themselves. Their GPS devices flickered and died, leaving them utterly disoriented, and the whispers grew insistent, circling them, pulling them in different directions, each voice promising a different escape, a different truth. Ben, convinced he saw the trail, his eyes wide with a desperate hope, ran toward a thicket where a voice called Maya's name, a voice that sounded so much like her own mother.
Maya almost followed, drawn by the familiar sound, but Liam, sensing the danger, stopped her, his grip tight on her arm. The whispers intensified, swirling, disorienting, ancient, a cacophony of voices that seemed to burrow into their minds. They wandered for hours, lost, the voices never letting up, guiding them in circles deeper and deeper into the heart of the woods. As night fell, casting long, ominous shadows, they stumbled onto a logging road, safe, a beacon of hope in the overwhelming darkness. But Ben was gone, vanished into the trees as if he'd never been there at all. They searched, calling his name until their voices were hoarse, but he'd vanished without a trace, swallowed by the forest's embrace. The whispers stopped as soon as they left the woods. As if the forest had claimed its prize and had no further need for deception. Official searches found nothing. No sign of Ben. No clue as to his fate. The survivors were left with trauma and questions that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Forests are ancient, mysterious, and sometimes they take more than they give back, demanding a price for those who dare to trespass. The Whispering Woods became a place of dread, a reminder that some voices in the wild are best ignored, that some paths are best left untrodden. The fear of being lured away, of losing yourself to the unknown, is as old as humanity, a primal fear that lurks in the shadows of our minds. For Liam, Chloe, and Maya, the forest... For Liam, Chloe, and Maya, the forest... That lurchte isen and sequels that sheer signifi and says substi sandbis galitiet pensi. And if works ibid resis yegam edis men William so short and surely did. Altus, Horus, your places don't know what it is, so that is nobody's.
The Millers thought they'd found their dream home. A beautiful Victorian nestled in a quiet neighborhood. It had everything they'd ever wanted. A big yard, plenty of bedrooms, and that classic, timeless charm. They envisioned years of happiness within those walls. A place to raise their children and create lasting memories. But their idyllic vision began to crumble with the discovery of the locked room upstairs. At first, it was just a curiosity, a minor inconvenience. They assumed it was a storage room, perhaps, or a forgotten space from a previous owner. They jiggled the handle, peered through the keyhole, but the door remained stubbornly sealed. Then came the scratching at night, a subtle, unsettling sound that seemed to emanate from within the walls themselves. It was always from behind the locked door, a persistent, rhythmic scraping that sent shivers down their spines. The sounds grew louder, more desperate, as if something was trying to claw its way out. The scratching intensified, becoming a frantic, almost panicked assault on the wood. Then whispers, urgent, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to slither through the cracks in the doorframe. Their daughter Emily heard voices too, faint whispers calling her name. The family's unease grew into a palpable dread. Sleep became impossible, replaced by a gnawing anxiety. The house felt heavy, oppressive, as if a dark cloud had settled over them. One night, the scratching turned violent.
a furious barrage against the door that shook the entire house. It was accompanied by guttural moans, low, mournful sounds that seemed to echo from the depths of the earth. Their son Tom woke screaming about a shadow monster in the walls, a creature with glowing eyes that watched him from the darkness. David, desperate to protect his family, broke down the door, ignoring the warnings that screamed in his mind. A rush of icy, foul air greeted them, carrying the stench of decay and something ancient, something evil. Inside a small, empty room, devoid of furniture or any sign of life. But the walls were covered in frantic scratch marks, a testament to the torment that had been contained within. On the floor, a single word scrawled in what looked like dried blood, a chilling message from the unseen tenant. Mine. A possessive claim. A declaration of ownership that resonated with terrifying finality. The family fled that night, abandoning their dream home, never to return to the horrors it concealed. The house remained empty, a silent sentinel guarding its dark secret, the locked room untouched, a monument to fear. The idea of a hidden space in your home, harboring something malevolent, something ancient and hungry, is a primal fear that lurks in the darkest corners of our minds. The Millers never learned what was trapped there, what entity had claimed the room as its own. Some doors are locked for a reason, barriers between our world and something else entirely. And sometimes what's inside is waiting, patiently, for someone to let it out. The sanctity of home, once violated by such a presence, is hard to reclaim, leaving scars that may never fully heal. The unseen tenant of Oak Haven was never found, its identity forever shrouded in mystery. But the message was clear: not all rooms should be opened, and some secrets are best left undisturbed.
5 stories, 5 glimpses into the unknown. From roadside apparitions to haunted homes, these tales remind us how thin the line is between safety and fear. Whether fact or folklore, they make us question what's out there and what's waiting in the dark. So tonight, as you turn off your device, maybe check the shadows one more time. Sometimes stories are more than just stories. Thanks for watching. Which tale unsettled you most? Let us know below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and maybe leave a nightlight on.